Hello, and welcome to the place on the internet I talk about comic books. So today I wanted to do a video that I had previously recorded, but found myself using meritorious instead of meritorious, and could not live with myself. So I had to scrap that long-ass video. You're getting the abridged version, which is probably better. I wanted to talk today about who we work for. And this is a consistent theme, not just in my videos, but also in my work on the page. For what reason do you do things? And this is relevant right now because it's award season in comic books, with the Eisner nominations having been announced. Can we just say, in point of fact, apropos of nothing, there's several people on the list this year who would make an effort to cancel Will Eisner were he alive today. Just something to consider. Now, every year since I've been in comics, and for a number of years when I was a reader and not a creator, the Eisners came with some consternation, right? They are always at risk of offending somebody because there's inevitably good work that is left off or bad work that is nominated. And that's just the way it goes with award ceremonies. Largely, award ceremonies in any field are kind of a patronage system of some type where back scratching. You get the idea. This year is pathetic. I can say this because awards don't matter to me, and I'm on some Steve Ditko shit with this. I don't mean to tank any potential to get nominated in the future because I know that to some of my co-creators that would matter, but I hope that the pettiest of Eisner nomination committee members would see past this affront and if they're doing great work, still honor them. But so I don't care. I don't think that this is a valid way to rate art. I wouldn't trust anybody who is self-elected to do that, nor would I allow myself to weigh myself on the scale of someone else's interpretation of art. I would have to go through everything that they like and dislike, and I just don't have, who has time for that? So it's an exercise that can exist completely independent of my approval. That's fine, but nobody in comics respects the picks this year. There's a few things happening, as there always is. There's the reader's interpretation of things, there's the journalist's interpretation plus effort to guide things, and then there is the networking pro operator, personality type who's at work at things. And those things all exist on the public-facing level. And then below that, you just have the kind of consensus among credible creators. And this year, that consensus is, this is shameful, nobody takes this award seriously anymore. Clearly not the nominating committee, and then clearly not the audience it's intended for. This is only relevant to me insofar as it gives us something to talk about, who we're writing for, who we're creating for. This could be for attention. This could be for approval. Often you see people that are obviously writing for an audience of one, either an ex-flame or their father, someone who likely will never process their work, but it's clear that that's what they're trying to communicate. Is, hey, I want your attention because I never got it when I was a kid, or I want your attention because you left me and I didn't think you should have, and whatever, or take me back. It's always this, writers often don't know who they're writing for, but that's why I'm asking. Who are you writing for? Who are you creating comics for? It can't be for awards. If no one respects awards anymore, then we can scratch them right off the list. It's not a reason to sit at your computer for endless hours, typing up a little no. So who do you write for? Whose approval do you want? I can say for myself, it's only in recent years that it started to shift from, hey, I'm going to show you, to, hey, I need to challenge myself. When I first started writing comics, it was, I feel left out of a thing. I feel like you're not taking me seriously at this. I'm going to show you just how serious I am. You can see this in a lot of my work. My superhero work is a rebuke to the publishers that I felt passed me over, right? I can do this better than you. And that's who I was writing for, an audience of fuck you. And that's enough for a young man. I wasn't so young that should be an excuse, but it's enough for a young man. But as you get older, you are writing for an audience that you hope holds you to the same standard that they hold your heroes to. An audience that keeps you aspirational, because they will let you know when you do not rise to the standard of the best work that is on their shelves. I want people who mirror my experience in comics. People who are familiar with the corporate work, that's what they grew up on. People who had their lives changed by something that is just left of that dial. So, for example, for me, it was From Hell, but it's probably going to be an Alan Moore work, honestly. But whatever it may be, Tom Strong, had their lives changed, and now want you to rise to that occasion. They want you to be as good as that thing. That is a huge part of why I write. And maybe that's not healthy, and maybe I abandon that fully in the future in favor of writing exclusively for myself. And I have friends who write for an uninitiated audience. They want to be the gateway that brings readers into comics. They want to be more accessible rather than trying to get a response from the reader who has seen everything, which is my fool's errand, right? But both of those are pretty valid reasons to wake up in the morning and start writing. What is not valid is seeking the approval of the commenterati, the journalists, the YouTubers, the Twitter people, and the awards people. Seeking that is fruitless. It's fruitless because it's not based on anything that you can control through your writing. You can control it through manipulation. You can control it through glad handing. You can control it through all the bullshit that has nothing to do with your craft. You could be an operator if you chose to. Don't let anybody... Never complain, and I'll tell you why. Because you end up looking like Ferris Bueller's sister. Remember Ferris Bueller's sister in the movie? She saying, "Why does he get away with this? Why is he able to manipulate people in this way?" And Charlie Sheen plays the strung-out drug addict guy who looks at her and goes, "You could do that too, right?" It's an even playing field. If you want to be the guy who buys gifts for editors, if you want to be the guy who, remembers strangers' birthdays, you can be that person. So you can't ever complain about people who play that game. You just have to do what you do far better so that you don't need to do that. And in regards to trying to please the person who doesn't want to read, they want to be held. They want to be held in esteem. They want to be treated like little kings and queens. And they want to feel like they're getting points for a political side of some type. And trying to win that person over is very doable and very unfulfilling. Awards should make this obvious to everyone. And that is where I think they have a function. I think that awards are great for what they reveal. They reveal that this is all baloney. All right, I'm going to use this as a marketing opportunity if I'm an Eisner nominee. Nobody should feel uplifted by it because we've gone past the point that these things mean anything. And that's respectfully to the people that are on the list this year. There's always good work that creeps on, but just look at the worst work. Look at the worst work nominated, and that's how these things should be measured. If you look at the Eisner nominations and you see a single book that you know does not deserve to be there, then the whole thing is fraudulent. And I'm sorry, I know that that's like a very high standard to hold award shows to, but either it's a real thing or it's not. Either it's meritorious or it is not. One bad apple truly does spoil the bunch, because now you're being held to what scale? I mean, don't ever weigh me on the same scale as trash. You could measure both in pounds, but that doesn't mean we're the same thing. So do not ever hold me to a false standard predicated on handshakes, and it's everybody knows what this is. It's difficult to talk about for most of these people because they don't want to let down their publishers. They don't want to spit in the face of the Eisner people and then have their co-creators angry at them for ruining opportunities for them. Just cross me off of every award that could ever exist for the rest of the time. I'm not pressed about this at all. It's not real. And I don't mean that in any sort of bitter, I've been left out sort of way. I mean, I felt this way when I was a kid. It's just not real. You know what I mean? Like, we all know that, because if one bad work gets on that list, the whole thing is compromised because you know it couldn't arrive there by virtue of somebody's taste. There's work, I'm not going to say which, but there's work this year that it's not viable. It's not something you could convince me that someone who has read comics for any length of time would say is up for an award when it's not possible. So disregard what I'm saying as a bitter guy at your own risk, because we're talking about your happiness. I'm speaking to comic book creators now. If you think that it's worth pursuing the approval of people who don't seem like they read a lot, that's up to you. I'm going for some blend of my sensibilities and what I want to get from an informed reader who gives a shit about the medium. And I do not care about the rest. And I urge my peers, my colleagues, to please embrace, or at least consider, the same mentality. Because I see some of you soft begging. You're not the operator. You're not the manipulator. You're the guy that's outside the gate. And I see you soft begging for the approval of the Eisner nomination committee. And there's something fundamentally tragic in that. If you disregard everything I say, please consider at least not sucking that particular dick. Jump out of that race, man. Better luck to the Eisner nomination committee in the future. I would love for there to be some type of measure of what we think is good and bad in comics, and for people who did good work to have their name in lights and to benefit from the accolade. That would be fine by me. It still wouldn't be something that I'd pursue, but it's not without value. But what we're doing for the last almost 10 years is not that. And everybody knows that now. And creators, you can't chase a dog shit rolling down a hill.